Captain William Freeman called the master sergeant and told them to locate and interview a female subject. And that's how we get to this girl, Lainey. Now, this has always bothered me because I'm like, why is Lainey's name in this report? Why was she brought up at all?
11:50 in the morning, the 5th of July. That single timestamp is now the most argued over number in the Nolan Wells case, and it did not come from a leak or a witness or a document release. It came out of a man's own mouth, voluntarily, on a recording that has been public for a very long time that thousands of people had already heard and scrolled past. Online researchers went back and lined it up against the Marine Resources paperwork from that same morning, and they say the two do not fit, that an instruction went out that day which the officer who gave it had no documented way to give. We are going to let them lay it out first, exactly as they framed it, then we come back and separate what is checkable from what still needs proving, including one hole in this theory that almost nobody repeating it has addressed. Before we get into it, if you've been following Nolan's case, keep his family in your prayers. If you believe Nolan's story deserves continued attention, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. Here's the timeline.
Especially since, according to Lainey, she hadn't seen Nolan in over a year and was on a completely different island, so it never made sense to me. And then it effing hit me. So according to this report, on July 5th at 9 a.m., assistance was requested from Captain Freeman as part of the drone search. Freeman was transported to Horn Island, and at approximately 10 a.m., he tried 3 failed launches. It ended up being a software error, and he was unable to fix it in the field. So then at 10:30, Freeman requests that Smith come out and assist with drone duty. Freeman and another officer went and picked up Smith and transported him to Horn Island. But by 12:40, the first drone finally takes flight. Now, wait a minute. If Freeman was out on Horn Island trying to do this drone launch, had to call in assistance, go and get that person, bring them back to Horn Island, then when the F did he get this information about Lainey? Oh, wait, I have an idea.
Who was looking for Nola? Who was on the boat? Was it multiple boats? Multiple boats. Okay, can you explain that? Who was out of this group? Who was on what boat? Or who was on a boat or not going out looking for Nola?
So, me, Wyatt, and Trayson got in the boat. We got in the Palm Beach that morning, the morning after, and to the islands, and we were met by DMR. There was 7 DMR boats already out there, DMR and park rangers. We talked to them. We gave them all of our information. They personally asked if any of us were on the boat with him that day. We told them yes. They just said, all right, well, we got the area scoped out. And then after that, we just went up to the beach. I think we met up with y'all. Yeah.
Okay, so by Morgan's own words, he, Trayson, and Wyatt were on the Palm Beach out at Horn Island talking to MDMR. Oh, and when was that? When did they do that?
From 9:45 to 11:50, 12 o'clock era, about lunchtime. While we were on the water, we talked to a rescue guy.
Oh, you were out there until 11:50, you say? You mean 5 minutes before this phone call happened? Does that sound like a coincidence to you? Now, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to conclude that they were the ones who gave this information to Captain Bill Freeman. Again, why would they give Lainey's name if she wasn't there in that group that day? Especially when he was supposedly last seen with Katie, whose name, again, is conveniently absent from any report that we've seen. Now, this is about to get deep, y'all, because I reread the line again, now knowing that the boys were the ones who probably gave this information and not just some random good citizen. Specific wording says, Captain Freeman said to locate and interview a female subject that was possibly involved with the missing person on Horn Island. Possibly involved? How did I miss that? How did we all miss that? Because there's 2 other boys mentioned in this that they don't make contact with, and it just says possible names associated with Wells. That is very different and intentional language. Now, as I've told y'all, I've spent weeks learning the dynamics of all these different friend groups and who they're friends with online, etc. Now, this is Lainey. Now, most people have clocked this picture where Lainey is with a girl who is wearing the same swimsuit last 4th of July as the one that is on the boat with Katie.
It begins with one line in an original Marine Resources report. According to that report, Captain William Freeman contacted a master sergeant and instructed him to locate and interview a female subject. That instruction is how a young woman named Lainey enters this case. And the person who assembled this breakdown says that never made sense to her. By Lainey's own account, she had not seen Nolan in over a year. On the day in question, she was not on Horn Island at all. She was on a completely different island. So the name sat there for months looking like an error, a garbled radio call, somebody mishearing something in the noise of a first-day search. Then she read the rest of that morning. At 9 o'clock, assistance is requested from Captain Freeman as part of the drone search. He is brought in for aerial work. He is transported out to Horn Island. At approximately 10, he tries to launch. It fails. He tries again. Fails again. 3 attempts, 3 failures. And the cause, per the report, is a software error he could not fix in the field. At 10:30, he requests that Smith come out and assist with drone duty. And here is the detail the breakdown leans on. Freeman does not just call for someone else to handle it. According to the paperwork, Freeman and another officer leave the island, cross the water, collect Smith, and bring him back out. The first drone does not fly until 12:40 in the afternoon. So from 10 in the morning until nearly 1 in the afternoon, Captain Freeman is doing one thing: fighting equipment that will not work and traveling to fetch the person who might fix it. Not conducting interviews, not sitting with witness statements. So when did he receive information specific enough to send a master sergeant after a particular young woman? That is where the recording comes in. One of the young men reportedly on the boat with Nolan describes his own movements the following morning. He says he, Wyatt, and Tristan got in the Palm Beach. He says they went out to the islands. He says they were met by Marine Resources. 7 boats already out there, he says, along with park rangers. He says they talked to them. In his words, they gave them all of their information. He says officers asked directly whether any of them had been on the boat with Nolan that day. He says they told them yes. Then he supplies the time himself. Nobody presses him for it. From about 9:45 until, his phrasing, 11:50, 12 o'clock era. About lunchtime, 11:50. And according to the breakdown, Freeman's call comes roughly 5 minutes later. The presenter is clear that she cannot prove who supplied that name. Her position is that she does not think it is out of the realm of possibility that the men on that water were the source, and that somebody should be able to explain how it reached him. Then she goes back to the wording one more time. She says the report does not describe Lainey as a possible witness. It describes her as possibly involved with the missing person on Horn Island. Possibly involved. And she says 2 other individuals in that same report, 2 males, not contacted, are described differently. Possible names associated with Wells. Associated with, not involved. She argues that is deliberate, that agencies do not reach for variety in an incident report. She then extends this into a much wider theory built on friend group mapping, photographs, and social connections, and lands somewhere provocative that Katie, the name this entire case has revolved around publicly, reportedly appears in no released report at all. She raises the possibility that the public story has been focused on the wrong person from the start. She also says something most people repeating this have skipped. She says she thinks Lainey may be a distraction too. She says she is still piecing it together. She says there is a chunk missing. That is the claim. Now the breakdown.
I'm going to try and do this in the easiest way possible. I have narrowed down the BFF group with Lainey and these girls. All of these girls have called each other their best friends and taken pictures with each other at some point or another. Now, none of these girls are friends with any of the Wyatt Warren friend group. All of them are friends with Tristan and Tristan's sister. Tristan's sister has best friend picture relationships with all of these girls. It's very clear that this is a core group of friends. There's group pictures with them, they've lived together, etc. Now, Kendall is the one in the blue and red bikini in this picture. But I found another picture of Bailey and Maggie here from last 4th of July wearing the exact same red and blue swimsuit that Kendall was wearing. So it's pretty safe to say that these girls coordinated all wearing the same bathing suit. Also found this picture of Lainey from 2 4th of Julys ago wearing this bathing suit. Does it look familiar to anybody? That's right, that is clearly the same bathing suit from the boat with Katie, with a face that's conveniently been blurred. Now, do we think it's a coincidence that 2 swimsuits associated with this friend group all ended up on the same boat as Katie? I'm gonna say the chances are slim. Now, Kendall seems to have a longtime boyfriend. And guess what his name is? Jacob Brooks, which is the second name that comes up on this report. And guess who seems to be Lainey's longtime boyfriend? Drew Johnson, the other name on this report. Now, Drew, unlike all of these people over here, Drew is friends with the Warren Wyatt friend group. Also the only one out of this entire group that is Facebook friends with Nolan. If this was the boys telling this information to the captain, why were they saying that their buddy's girlfriend was possibly involved with Nolan? And why would Trayston be snitching on his sister's friends like this? Now wait, one of Katie's BFFs, Nevaeh, is friends with a Caden McGrath. Caden is friends with 0 people from either group except for Nevaeh, as far as I can tell. Caden is somehow related to a Joe, who is frequently advertising on his page for the Biloxi Bay RV Resort. The one that I was saying that according to the GPS coordinates looks like they may have dropped somebody off at. So in my opinion, Joe is clearly somehow related to the Marty McGrath, who was the one who apparently took all these people on this boat, including Katie, when this friend group was supposedly left on this island. And I feel like that language is really important and overlooked because left makes it sound like your ride left without you. Now, according to Joe's LinkedIn, he is IT for the Ocean Marine Group, which is owned by Jerry Adkerson. Aiden is also the only person I can find who is friends with Captain Chris Seth Ward, the son of Chris Ward, who was called by Jerry to cancel the sea tow allegedly on his private line before the sea tow call was even finished. I also found a very weak connection through social media between Lainey and a girl who is in the same sorority as the girl who threw the party, Ava, allegedly threw the party. So what if Trayston's slick comment wasn't about Katie at all? Because I don't know about you guys, but we have seen absolutely 0 proof that Katie was actually out there with them. They have kept the story hyper-focused on Katie, and no other girls' names have really gotten out. But if Katie has been the red herring this whole time? I don't know. I'm still trying to piece through. I'm still trying to figure it out because there's clearly a chunk that is missing out of this story. Like, I think Lainey is a red herring too, don't get me wrong, because I don't see these boys like freely offering up their motive or anything. But it sounds like maybe this Lainey girl was involved with Nolan behind her boyfriend's back at some point, and they tried to use that.
The core of this is not a theory. It is 2 public records placed side by side, an official agency timeline for a named officer, and a man describing his own morning with times he volunteered. No photograph, no follower list, no inference, 2 records and an overlap, which means anyone can test it themselves. The geography matters more than people credit. Horn Island sits off the Mississippi coast in the Gulf. You arrive by boat, you leave by boat. Everyone out there that day got there deliberately, on a vessel. The population of that morning is finite. That is not speculation. That is what an island is. Second, if the wording is quoted accurately, the asymmetry is worth asking about. Incident reports are functional documents. Words describe status. Associated flags a name in someone's orbit. Possibly involved carries different weight inside an agency, and somebody chose it. And third, nobody has answered any of it. Not the agency, not attorneys, not anyone reportedly on that water. Not denied, not explained, untouched. Now the other column. Listen again to what he actually said. Not 11:50, 12 o'clock era. About lunchtime. That is a man estimating casually, well after the fact, when he got off a boat. It is a range with the word era attached. The 5-minute gap is carrying the entire headline, while resting on a figure the speaker hedged twice in one sentence. If he was off the water at 11:40 or the call is logged at 12:15, the drama collapses. The overlap survives. The 5 minutes does not. Second, the report wording needs to be on screen, word for word, not paraphrased by anyone, including us. And now the hole in this that nobody sharing it has addressed. The theory assumes that because Freeman was busy with a drone, he could not have received that information at all. But he had a radio. He had a phone. He was inside an active multi-agency operation with 7 vessels and park rangers working the same water. Information moves constantly in that environment. A command post takes a call from a family member and relays it. An officer on another boat conducts an interview and passes it up. None of that requires Freeman to be sitting across from a witness. So, he was occupied? Does not establish he could not have received it. What it establishes is narrower. That the released paperwork gives no documented source for that name. An instruction with no stated origin. That is a gap in the documentation. On its own, that is all it is. The claim that those 3 men supplied the name is speculation. She says so herself. By the 3rd repost, it will be stated as fact. It is not. The wider material, the friend mapping, the photograph comparisons, the relationship chains, we left out on purpose. That is built on who follows whom and who appears beside whom. On that coast, everybody is connected to everybody. Pick any 2 people from that community and you can build a chain, and it will mean nothing because you can do it with anyone. The trap is that a chain you build yourself feels like proof. That is precisely how the wrong person gets destroyed. And it has happened in case after case. Not with private people who have not been charged with anything. 3 questions would end this today. And none require anybody to admit to anything. What is the logged time of Captain Freeman's call on the 5th of July? What does that report say, word for word, about the female subject and about the 2 males? And how did that name enter the investigation at all? Answer those, and this video becomes obsolete. That would be a good outcome. Nobody named here has been charged with any crime. Nothing said accuses anyone of committing one. The young woman in that report is not a suspect in anything the public record shows. She says she was on a different island and had not seen him in over a year. If you go looking for her, you misunderstood every word of this. Do not contact anyone in this case. It has never once helped, and it has ruined people who had done nothing. Ask the agencies. That is where questions belong. And if you have been following this for months without ever hitting subscribe, Nolan's family does not get to scroll past this one. Subscribe, turn notifications on, and stay for the part where somebody finally answers. We ask questions. We look at what is on the page, and we follow it wherever it goes.